Hello everybody, the lawn gnome is here.
What do you want?
So I know what you are all thinking. Lawn gnome, the Mets are about to start the World Series, and you are not wearing anything that resembles Mets gear. What is going on? Well, this shirt is, of course, a St. John's University shirt, a very well-known college that I actually happened to grow up very close to. And it also was the college of one of the most beloved Mets closers of all time. One that I actually saw pitch a couple of games live and on television, and that would be the great John Franco, whose jersey of the Red Storm, or the Red Men at the time, happened to be retired by the St. John's baseball team. So enough about Mets and St. John's, let's talk about Guillermo Del Toro's new Gothic romance piece, Crimson Peak, starring Mia Wasikowska, Jessica Chastain, and Tom Hiddleston. Now, I am a huge Guillermo Del Toro fan. Every time I hear that Guillermo Del Toro is attached to a project, whether he's a director, writer, or producer, I just know that there is going to be something in this film that is going to just make me so happy because it will be something so beautiful. What I've always loved about Del Toro is he manages to give us rich characters, rich stories, as well as supernatural elements that don't necessarily drive the story, but definitely add to the flair. And this time it is no different, adding paranormal aspects of ghosts in a story about a woman who falls in love with an entrepreneur from England, and because he has fallen in love with her as well, he wants to bring her back to his mansion that is also known as Crimson Peak to live with him and his sister. The siblings Thomas and Lucille unfortunately have a crazy dark secret, and Edith is the one that suddenly has to figure out what is going on with the help of some unusual friends. Now, a lot of people on YouTube who have reviewed this movie say that one of the major downfalls for this movie is because of the fact that the marketing was all wrong. Everyone was expecting a huge horror story, and what you got was a gothic romance with ghosts. So when I heard that that was the case, I said, okay, great, it's a Guillermo Del Toro movie. I'm even more excited for this movie. And I will say that all of the major points that people thought were positives were things that I thought were very positive as well. There are excellent characters, and they are portrayed beautifully by the actors that fill the shoes. Mia Wasikowska, I always enjoyed the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. It's not a great movie, but it's fun, but I really appreciated her as Edith. And of course, the Sharp siblings, played by Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston, are fantastic too. Jessica Chastain is definitely the best female actress that Guillermo Del Toro has used in his films, because she just puts on these completely different personas that most people who have seen movies of her actually is. She really is fantastic in this movie as this brooding, conniving, devious sibling that just wants something bad to happen to Edith. And it's crazy. Another thing that I really love about this movie, of course, is the costumes as well as the sets. The mansion is absolutely beautiful, and I love the fact that the entrepreneurship of the Sharps is involving the red clay that the land of the mansion is built on, hence the reason why it's called Crimson Peak, and how the mansion is so old and deteriorating it takes on a life of its own, where the clay is in fact seeping through the foundation so it looks like the house is a living being. The walls and the floors are bleeding, and that just really is incredible, but that's just Guillermo Del Toro also all over. The ghosts in this film are also very well done with that classic Guillermo Del Toro spin. You definitely feel the hairs on your body raise, and you get a little bit scared when they do show up, but of course, one of the few things that I do love about these supernatural elements in Guillermo Del Toro's films is how he actually uses them, and they're not necessarily there for the typical jump scare. Unfortunately, there is one major flaw in Crimson Peak, and it had nothing to do with the bad marketing campaign, nor did it have anything to do with the trailers. I just found this movie way too predictable. Most people thought that the worst part of the movie was Charlie Hunnam, who is also in this movie as well. He has been in another Del Toro film, Pacific Rim. I just found myself figuring out this entire movie 30 minutes in. I figured out the relationship between the Sharps, I figured out the motives, I figured out the necessary reason for the ghosts, and I was just saying to myself, this is not my idea of a good time at the movies. I really expected to be guessing and thinking from beginning to end, especially because of the fact that it's a Guillermo Del Toro film. When I take a look at some of the other movies that he has done, like Pan's Labyrinth, and probably one of his most unappreciated films that he produced, which is Mama, I do recall guessing from beginning to end and truly loving those films. I do, however, enjoy the fact that at the very end of this movie, you kind of try to figure out exactly what the story was as a whole, because of the fact that, to me, it feels like it was a story within a story within a story. Basically, Crimson Peak was a goth romantic version of Inception to me. That's pretty clever on Guillermo del Toro's part, but just the fact that I managed to figure out what everything was way too soon in the movie, I really did not find myself really enjoying the experience. I'm really hoping that Guillermo del Toro will continue to make movies that will get me sitting in that theater. I probably will not want to see this movie again. My fiance got very curious about it when she found out that it was a gothic romance. Again, sets, costumes, acting, it's good. It's all good. Definitely worth seeing, but I just don't see myself rewatching this movie, nor do I see myself purchasing this movie on DVD. If I were to choose what the better movie was in his recent years between Crimson Peak and Mama, and I will put my review for Mama in the box below, I choose Mama, especially since Jessica Chastain is in that movie as well. So that's it, guys. I'm going to be giving Crimson Peak 2.5 out of 4. I'm glad that I saw it. I'm glad to say that it is not what you think it's going to be. You're definitely going to find something truly different, because it is a Guillermo del Toro film. You're always going to get something different, but maybe more people will find more value in it than I did. Well, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please put your comments in the box below, and let's have a discussion about Crimson Peak, and I will see you all in the next one. Actions speak louder than words.